Hi, this is Madison Roy. This is my class project for Cse335. So for my project idea, I came up with an app for storing your own personal recipes, locating nearby grocery stores depending on your current location. You can search the web for recipes and save them for future reference, and be able to auto update your grocery list depending on recipe ingredient lists. For example, you find a recipe that you like, and you can click a button to add all of those ingredients to your grocery list, and then you can also go to your grocery list tab and add your own items to your grocery list. My plan was to have 3 table views in this implementation. One would be for the web result when you're searching for a recipe keyword, such as breakfast. It would display the top 10 results from the web search. And another table view would be for your personal recipe list, where you can add recipes, and there would be a row for each of your individual recipes. And the last table view would be for your grocery list, where a single item would be on each row of the table view. I was also planning on using a web API for online recipe data. The user would input their keyword search item, and the API call would give back the top 10 recipes from that search. And then the table view relating to this would be updated with these top 10 recipes. I was also planning on using UI image picker view for the image of the user's personal recipes. So when they add an image to a recipe from either their camera or photo library, the image would show in the detail view for that recipe. Core data would be used to store the user's grocery list, personal recipe list, and saved web recipes. A map view would be used to show nearby grocery stores depending on the current location of the user. And then under the map view, I was planning on listing some of the grocery stores that are nearby. This is my class diagram for my current implementation of the class project. As you can see, I have 4 different view controllers. One is the main view controller, where you can search for web recipes. There's a button to see your grocery list, a button to see nearby grocery stores, and a button to go to your personal recipe list. There's a view controller for when you click on to see your personal recipe list. There's a view controller for that, which includes a table view. So that view controller is also using the UI table view delegate class and UI table view data source class, similar to the main view controller, which has a table view, and then the grocery view controller, which also has a table view. There is a view controller for the map, which just includes the map view, and there is also a UI label which shows some of the grocery stores that are nearby, but the map view controller is the only one that does not have a table view. And some things that I've changed since my original class diagram that I created, I had split up a recipe class. I had a single recipe class for a web recipe, and then a recipe class for a personal recipe, but I realized that I didn't need those two separate recipe classes. So I combine them into one recipe class, and then I have another class that contains an array of recipe items, and both of the view controllers for the personal recipes and web result recipes are both using this My Recipes class, which contains the array of recipes. This is my MVC diagram for the class project. There is the controller, the model, and the view. The view contains the table views and the segues and the plus button, which is where you would add items to the table view. As you can see, when you are clicking on the plus sign to add an item to your table view, it is calling refresh in the controller, and the segue is calling prepare, which takes you to the detail view controller. And as you can see in the controller is calling the self row at and can edit row at those functions that are needed for the table views. The controller also contains the recipe lists for the personal recipes and web recipes, and then the grocery list objects for which would be the grocery table view. But the objects are contained in the controller, and those objects that are in the controller call the model when you need to add a recipe object or add a grocery item. It calls the model, which has the data structures for a grocery list and a recipe list. In each of those, the recipe list and grocery lists are an array of either a grocery item or a recipe item. Some capabilities and limitations. So items that were not implemented 100% in my final build are adding items to your grocery list, adding recipe images with camera or photo library, table view additions from a web search, and core data was also not implemented 100%. Core data, I had set up the entity for core data and the items in the entity, but I was not able to get it working with the table views quite yet. The current build of the app can give the user nearby grocery stores on the map view based on their current location. Also, the user can search for online recipes and results will show in the output window. And they can also add personal recipes and edit the ingredient list and directions for the recipe. Lessons learned. I realized that more time was needed for this project than I was expecting. I had used a virtual machine for this project, which took up most of my time since the virtual machine was slow and was having some issues that I had to deal with. So if I had to do this project again, I would probably try to use a friend's Mac so that I wouldn't have to deal with these virtual machine problems. And I also learned that I should have started earlier on this project, and will try to take that into account for my other projects. I also learned that the Figma mockup was very helpful for when I was trying to implement this in Xcode. Suggestions for class improvements. I don't have a lot of suggestions for class improvements. I think that a lot of the material that was given to us was really helpful, and I didn't need a lot of outside help other than what was already given for demos and just the other supplemental material. But for the class projects, I would have suggested giving the students more time to work on this project, or give one less fewer requirement, because we had so much going on during the semester that I had not really had time to start on this early. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.